Good afternoon, and welcome to the Preferred Bank Fourth Quarter 2019 Earnings Conference Call and Webcast. All participants will be in listen-only mode. Should you need assistance, please signal a conference specialist by pressing the star key followed by 0. After today's presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. To ask a question, you may press star then 1 on a touch-tone phone. To withdraw your question, please press star then 2. Please note, this event is being recorded. I would now like to turn the conference over to Tony Rossi of Financial Profiles. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Gary. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us to discuss Preferred Bank's financial results for the fourth quarter ended December 31st, 2019. With me today from management are Chairman and CEO Li Yu, President and Chief Operating Officer Wellington Chen, and Chief Financial Officer Edward Cheka. Management will provide a brief summary of the results, and then we'll open up the call to your questions. During the course of this conference call, statements made by management may include forward-looking statements within the meaning of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Such forward-looking statements are based upon specific assumptions that may or may not prove correct. Forward-looking statements are also subject to known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors relating to Preferred Bank's operations and business environment, all of which are difficult to predict and many of which are beyond the control of Preferred Bank. For a detailed description of these risks and uncertainties, please refer to the SEC required documents the bank files with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC. If any of these uncertainties materialize or any of these assumptions prove incorrect, Preferred Bank's results could differ materially from its expectations as set forth in these statements. Preferred Bank assumes no obligation to update such forward-looking statements. At this time, I'd like to turn the call over to Mr. Li Yu. Please go ahead.
Good morning. For the quarter ended December 31st, 2019, our bank has earned a net income of $1.31 a share. This is a slight decrease of a penny from the previous quarter, but we would have been able to report the same amount, but our effective tax rate has increased to 30.5%. For the year, we have earned net income of $78.4 million, or $5.16, which compares reasonably well with the previous year. First quarter loan growth was $53 million, a little less than 6% annualized. A number of the loan was pushed to January because the holiday season just find the closing on time is difficult. For the year, our total loan growth is $392 million, or a little less than 12%. First quarter deposit growth was $114 million, or on an annualized basis of 12%. For the year, our total deposits has grown $344 million, or 9.44%. As we are all aware of, there has been 3 rate cuts spreading between July and October. All these rate cuts, their financial effect are all fully reflected cumulatively in the fourth quarter. Okay. Our interest margin therefore declined to 3.67%. For the year, our net interest margin was 3.92%, a 16 basis points reduction from previous year. The interest rate outlook seems to be stable, and if that's the case, our net interest margin will stabilize in early 2020 and gradually improve thereafter. I'm happy also to report our cost control is in effect. We basically operate pretty much at the same cost as previous quarter or previous year. And our efficiency ratio is 32.6% for the fourth quarter and 33.3% for the year. And we believe such effort can be continued in the ensuing year. Thank you so much for your joining the conference phone call. I'm ready to answer your question.
We will now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, you may press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. If you are using a speakerphone, please pick up your handset before pressing the keys. If at any time your question has been addressed and you would like to withdraw your question, please press star, then 2. At this time, we will pause momentarily to assemble our roster. Our first question is from Steve Moss with B. Riley FBR. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
I just want to start on loan growth there. I heard, Mr. You said it was pushed out to January. Just wondering, give some quantify how much growth you're looking for in the first quarter.
Well, probably I don't know how much first quarter is. What loan production will be. What they slip into the first quarter, every quarter end there's some slippage to the next quarter, but the extraordinary, in my estimation, probably in the $40 to $50 million range.
Okay. That's helpful. And then just in terms of the overall loan pipeline, I judge by your comments, it still sounds like it's pretty strong. But pay down our challenge?
We are able to produce a whole lot of loan during the year. We have a great origination effort during the year. But past year, we've been experiencing very, very heavy payoff activities, okay? So we actually originated a little bit over $1 billion on new loans outstanding, but the payoff is almost $700 million. So from that point on, we have not see the short of the loan activities. But the coming year, with a stable interest rate environment, if it is continued that way, we hope to be able to repeat the same effort, if not improving on that. But it's hard to tell,
Okay, that's helpful. And then on expenses, just with, I hear you on the cost controls, but this quarter seemed exceptionally low and maybe a little bit kind of one-time in nature with professional fees and a few things coming in. Just wondering what you're thinking for the first quarter of 2020, or if we're at a pretty good run rate here with this quarter's number.
Ed, you have some feeling about that?
Yeah. So as you know, we got some benefit from the FDIC insurance premium in Q4. I think I pegged that at about $450,000. So really, you add that back and you get back close to really what the run rate should be on a go-forward basis. In terms of professional services, there's a number of things in there, Steve. Obviously, legal fees and then consultant, and as well as IT costs are in there as well. And as we have been on the kind of the back end of our major core conversion from the middle of 2018, we've been continuing to work, and we've been engaging people to continue to work on our system. So we're starting to see that come to a slowdown now in terms of the overall investment and effort on the heels of that conversion. So part of that is that reason, and then legal fees are down this year as well because we did not have other credit issues that we had in the previous year.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And then my last question, Ed, on CECL, what should we expect for the impact in the day one and so forth?
Well, at this point, it's tentative, but we have a range, and that range would put our ALLL to total loans probably about 15 to 20 basis points higher than where it is right now. But obviously that is subject to change. As you know, that's kind of a year-end look. We don't implement CECL obviously until 3/31, so that's subject to change. But that's kind of where we think it's going to fall, kind of in that neighborhood.
All right. Thank you very much.
The next question is from Aaron Deere with Piper Sandler. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Hi,
Aaron.
Ed, just curious, is there any remaining FDIC credit to be realized this year, or was that fully exhausted in the fourth quarter?
I think we have a little bit left, Aaron, not a material amount.
Okay. And then I think Mr. Yu and Eddie both kind of commented that the margin is likely to stabilize here early in the year and then maybe see some expansion as we move through the year. Can you give us some specifics in terms of what gives you that confidence, what's driving that in terms of, what volume of CDs are going to be repricing and what the average rate is on those that, relative to what you guys are paying today, and then what is lingering in terms of on the loan side that, could still see some repricing yet?
We, first of all, we have about between $100 to $150 million of TCD to be repriced every month. And the general difference is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's roughly, 70 cents, give and take about.
It was 87 basis points.
You know what? That's maybe roughly 70 cents, based on what we figure what our coupon rate that we're paying right now. Okay, so this, as we go on, as you can see, that will have a continuing effect of reducing our interest costs. And as natural for any and every all bank, it seems to be the loan get paid off is always carrying a slightly higher interest rate than the new loans being made. It's very hard to estimate or predetermine. We don't even know which one is going to be paying off in most cases, okay, in the first quarter. So hopefully the net effect of all these kind of situations will be leading to a stabilized, if not improving, interest rate in the year.
So could we see that dynamic? Could we see that inflection happen, here right away here in the first quarter? Or is it more likely a second quarter event before we see the inflection really start to develop?
The continuing TCD cost decreases is continuing from day one, okay? But we don't know. The thing that we don't know is what loan gets paid off, okay? What coupon rate they carry as compared to the new loan we're being made, as an average,
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'll step back.
The next question is from Gary Tenner with D.A. Davidson. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Good morning, guys.
Hi, Gary.
Wanted just to clarify the question on on non-interest expense. Ed, you mentioned that kind of adding back the FDIC expense will get you to a run rate, but as we're thinking about the first quarter, there's still the seasonal increase in personnel expense. Is that correct?
That is correct. We'll have the elevated payroll taxes related to the annual bonus.
You're very right. You're very correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the commentary just a moment ago on the CD repricing, kind of the 70 basis point repricing gap outlook. Does that continue? Is that repricing gap what you'd expect for the majority of the year, or is that more through the first couple of quarters before the kind of gap lessens in the back half of the year?
Well, I will give you a generality and ask for my colleagues to also add their feeling about it. You see that one of the things we're subject to is competition. Okay, we cannot be unilaterally decide what we want to pay. But as of today, we're paying this particular CD rate, and depend on how the competition reacts. Okay. And if competition is doing the same thing as we do, we can see this kind of saving continuing for the year until interest rate become changing, until the 12 months period is all repriced in general. Okay, so this is that. But on the other situation, for instance, okay, couple major banks still paying 1.75% on money market. Okay, so we have to spend the darn effort try to retain them even at our current rate. So the competition really is the main issue, but our coupon right now is reflecting a continuous cost reduction. Anything to add?
No, I think that says it all. I think over time, Gary, obviously, as you would imagine, that 70 basis point differential gets smaller and smaller as we get closer to CDs that were originated in a lower rate environment. So I think the first 2 quarters, I think you'll see the most benefit, and then it will start to wane in Q3.
Okay, that's perfect. And then finally, Ed, if you have available, if you could give us the cost of total deposits on average for the fourth quarter and the third quarter.
Total deposit average?
Yeah.
Cost. Oh, average cost. Yes. Q3 total deposit cost 157. Q4 it declined to 140.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you have a question, please press star then 1. The next question is from Tim Coffey with Janney. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Morning, gentlemen. Hey, Ed, a question for you, and perhaps for you too, Mr. Yu. The trends in your demand deposits have been exceptionally strong, especially in the last 2 quarters. What are you seeing that's allowing you to grow those deposits?
Oh, boy. Actually, maybe, if you really want to think about it, I think last quarter we've been lucky, yeah. And maybe in some cases that we see at the end, some customer always bringing some cash to their balance sheet, whether it's by collection from the receivable or whatever, or ready to pay the expenses, bonuses, all those other things in the early part of the year. But in general, that the bank has take a priority is grow demand deposits, even ranking ahead of growing the loans. It's very hard for us to, being our size and being we are a one-off type of bank, it's very hard for us to tell you right now what we think it will be. Okay, and then Wellington, you have a crystal ball. You want to add on that? No.
Tim, I don't have a crystal ball. However, I think that it's also add on to what Mr. Yu mentioned is our continued pursuit of focusing on the cheap deposit, the DDA, in terms of the loans that we originate and commanding the operating account and expanding our C&I business as well, and that also drives up the DDA.
Okay. And then just kind of, do you have any idea of how much of the growth this last quarter is seasonal and that it could come out in the first quarter?
Actually, not much. We look at our first quarter deposits right now. As of today, we have actually had an increase from last quarter end, okay? And not much change in the demand deposit side. So far it's been stable, but don't know. I guess by April 30.
We'll have tax season.
Yeah, by April 30, things all change,
Yeah.
Understood. And then, Ed, what's a good tax rate to use?
For 2020, I would use just over 30%, 30 point,
okay.
Sub 5.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for the color, everybody.
Sure.
This concludes our question and answer session. I would like to turn the conference back over to the management team for any closing remarks.
Thank you. We thank you for your interest in us, and obviously we consider 2019 to be a reasonably good year for us, and we certainly will continue our effort. Thank you.
The conference is now concluded. Thank you for attending today's presentation. You may now disconnect.